Apple decided to take the Confederate flag discussion and go about 13 steps too far with it. So news is out today that they removed any games from the App Store that included the Confederate flag in the game. Mediaite reports, quote, "As of the writing of this story, games like Ultimate General, Gettysburg, and all the Civil War games are nowhere to be found. The developers of Civil War games are reportedly shocked, saying that they use the Confederate flag in historical context, not in support of its ideals." The developer of Ultimate General, Gettysburg, that's the name of the game, told Touch Arcade he had no intention of editing the game to get back in Apple's good graces. He said, quote, "Spielberg's Schindler's List did not try to amend his movie to look more comfortable. The historical Gettysburg movie in 1993 is still on iTunes. We believe that all historical art forms, books, movies, or games such as ours, help to learn and understand history, depicting events as they were. True stories are more important to us than money." By the way, here's some games that are still available that you can buy. Nazi Germany, Super Commando Nazi Assault, and Nazi Zombies. Okay. Now, allow me to say to the uber liberals, fuck you. Fuck you. For the people who are afraid of the PC crowd, the PC crowd isn't what you think it is, or there aren't nearly as many of them in that crowd as you think there are. Because what liberals were calling for the entire time, if you fucking pay attention, you dipshits, is take the Confederate flag down from state property. Why? Because we know what the Confederate flag represents. It represents slavery. It represents secession. It represents being anti-American. And it was flying on state property. So that means taxpayers are paying for the property that they're flying the fucking flag on, which means that in South Carolina and other states, black people are paying their taxes to a state capital that flies the flag that represents their great-grandfathers being fucking enslaved. Okay? That's why it's a problem. It's public. It's public. Now, that's the issue here. The issue is not, do we live in the fucking Soviet Union where you ban shit you don't like? I mean, what's next? A book burning? So private companies are gonna say, let's erase all traces of the Confederate flag. Well, motherfucker, that doesn't make any sense. The same way it doesn't make any sense to get rid of Schindler's List, the movie, because there's swastikas in there. The same way it doesn't make sense to remove any World War II movie because they depict Nazis in there. The same way it doesn't make sense to remove any documentaries about the Civil War because, God forbid, in the Civil War documentaries, you see some people who are part of the Confederacy. Like, what are you doing? See, the thing is, people are not, they're sloppy thinking. It's generalized thinking, and they're lumping everything in together. So they're thinking, well, people are now saying Confederate flag equals bad. So let's react to that and just get rid of all the Confederate flags. No, that's not, but it's much more nuanced than that. In the sense that, again, the issue is that it's on public land, and with public tax dollars, it shouldn't be supported, and it shouldn't be flying on public land. If it's private land, I don't give a fuck what flag you fly. I don't give a fuck what's in a game. By the way, we have movies that have rape in it. We have movies that have scenes of endless murder in it. Do we take down all those movies because people are killed in it? What, are we advocating murder by having Rambo exist? Are we advocating rape by having rape scenes in some movies? Of course not. Of course not. It's art, and it's in a historical context. You're not actually supporting the ideals of the Confederacy if you have a game where two sides are fighting. One of them happens to be the Confederacy. But it should be obvious. It should be obvious. But this is what pisses me off, is that usually you see the sloppy generalized thinking on the right wing. In this case, it's people who are on the left who are like scared of other liberals who are doing it. Like, they think, oh, they came for the Confederate flag at the State House, they're coming for it in my game next. But they're not going to. You think they are, they're not going to. And if anybody does, it's just a handful of idiots, and nobody's going to join them in that because that's not a smart opinion. By the same token, there's an article in the New York Post, there's some idiot film critic who says Gone with the Wind shouldn't be shown at film festivals because there's racism in it. So you're going to say, okay, so by your own logic, you think racism is worse than murder. Because there are films, I'm sure, at the festival that have murder in it. You're not calling for the films with murder to be taken down. I guess you're pro-murder. This isn't my logic. That's his logic. Take down the racist movies, but leave up the murder ones. So you're pro-murder and you're anti-racism. No, it's fucking art. It's art. If it's a game, if it's art, if it's a movie, Take your fucking, what my beliefs are politically, take them and shove them up your fucking ass. You don't get to, it's not a police state. You don't get to tell other people what games they can play or can't play. You don't get to tell other people what movies they can or cannot watch. You don't get to censor that thing to make you feel better about yourself. And again, I'm largely ranting against a phantom crowd here because what I think it is game developers or companies that are afraid that they'll be next. That instead, it started with the State House, then it's us. But no, it's not going to be you next because the arguments in favor of getting rid of Confederate flags on private property, you can't even do that. We have a constitution in this country. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom of expression. You can't just ban. The Supreme Court ruled that you can burn the American flag. If you can burn the American flag, which you should be able to, of course you should be able to fly a Confederate flag. Again, I like it. If some idiot's flying a Confederate flag, some idiot's flying a Nazi flag, I know where the idiots are. I know who to avoid. And if somebody's playing a game where you're killing Confederates or killing Nazis or you're just playing a game, it's a game. It's a game. So make sure that you can distinguish in an intelligent way between what makes sense to get rid of and what it doesn't make sense to get rid of. It makes sense to get it off of public land. It doesn't make sense to get rid of it anywhere else because we live in a free country. You're allowed to be a bigot. You're allowed to be a crazy person. You're allowed to fly grotesque symbols, or you're allowed to play a game involving all those different things or watch movies involving those different things. And it doesn't say anything about who you are as a person. It only says something about what we should do in response to it if it's on public land. Because that's unacceptable because tax dollars are funding it and it is a symbol of oppression and slavery and it should not be flown on state property.